Okay. Hello, everyone. We have a lovely session planned for you with Serge Ramelli. He's a fantastic photographer, teacher, um, a creative artist, and more. Let's find out more about him. Let's ask him some interesting questions and let's learn some things from him and apply to our own craft, as we like to say at PhotoWhoa. Okay, without wasting any more time, let's get in. Hi, Serge. Thank you so much for taking the time out for speaking to our audience and to us. We really appreciate it. Thank you very
Well,
much.
okay, thank you for having me. It's very nice.
Excellent, excellent. So I think let me just jump straight into some of the questions and then we will take the questions as the answers go and we'll sort of turn it around. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So the first question is to do with your journey, Serge. So we know a little bit of the history. So from loving art as a child, we start with some sketches with coloring. I'm sure many of us remember the first digital camera we must have got from somewhere, or maybe even the film camera. And then moving from there to becoming a photographer, a professional photographer. Many people, it's an aspiration, it's a dream for many of our audiences. Some of us are sort of stuck wanting to do what you do for a life, for a
Mhm.
livelihood. So how's this journey been from loving art to actually living it and doing it as a profession?
Well, it's it's a bit of a long answer, but in short, I always wanted to be an artist. But the funny thing is, what got me into photography was directing movies. So very early on, I wanted to make movies. The problem is. So when I'm 50 today. In my 30s, what happened? I was the vice president salesman of my brother's company. We're doing really
Mhm.
well, and the job was great, and the company was amazing. But I've always wanted to be an artist, and so I felt that I need to change something in my life, or I was gonna be a salesman my entire life, and I didn't want that. So I started taking acting lessons and directing,
Mm.
and I was trying to make short movies. But the problem, this is like when I was 16 years ago, in 2004, there was no camera. I mean, you had like some, sort of really bad cameras, but like the first good camera was the Canon 5D Mark II. That was in March 2008. So in
Mhm.
2004, if you wanted to make a short movie, you had to rent very expensive camera, and even the quality was not that great. It was very hard. So and honestly, it was not going good. It was because when you make a movie, you need some actors, you need some sets, you need some lights, you need a gaffer. For gaffer is the guy who does the lights. You need a sound guy. It's a lot of people, a lot of money, a lot of things, and so it was going nowhere. And in 2005, January 2005, I went on vacation with many friends, and we all had like small digital cameras, and one of my friend there showed me Photoshop, and because I took a photo of a girl that was with us, very nice photo, and he said, "Yeah, but I can make it better because there was some tourist behind her." So he took the tourist out, and then he made her skin better and everything. And I was like so impressed. I've
Mm.
heard of Photoshop, but it was like, but it. So in my mind, the way it came to my mind was like, oh, okay, you know what? I can do photography until I can find out how I can make movies. I can at least do photography, and so because the good thing with photography is all you need is a CT and your camera and the software like Photoshop or Lightroom later on. The, I don't think Lightroom existed back in 2004. I think it came in 2006, and so I'm not sure about the date. But anyway, I was not aware of Lightroom. I only was aware of Photoshop, and literally overnight, I stopped doing the short movies and I just started making photos. I was in Paris after all, so it was a great place to practice, and that's how I started photography. How I became professional is a different story, but that's how I started photography. If
That
you
was
want,
the
I can
trick.
tell you how I became professional.
So no, that's a lovely story. And I think many of our viewers will sort of connect with that story because we've all been there. We've been one event we remember, somebody gifting us a camera or somebody teaching us something like your friend teaching you photography, your Photoshop. some event in your life is the anchor that makes you think, hey, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, it was just easier. At least I could create. I mean, it was the perfect media to express myself because I didn't need a team. I only needed a camera. I was in Paris, and when we were working, we were selling websites to hotels. We were really in the most nicest part of Paris. So literally after work, I could just take my camera from my motorbike and start taking photos, which I did for many, many years. I never thought at that time that I would become professional. This came, I just got hooked. I just started, Paris is so beautiful. So I got hooked. And for 5 years straight, I just took photos of Paris, like the one you see behind me,
Oh,
and
so
I
I was just
learned,
about to ask that. So that is one of yours.
yeah, it's a long exposure photo of Paris,
Fantastic.
during a sunset with an ND filter to make this, skies very sketchy, very stretchy, sorry, the water very flat. You know, it's the kind of photos I've been doing. I love, the good thing is being in Paris, I could only take my camera when there was a crazy moment of light, so I was able to get a really very, very, intense and big collection of Paris photo in 5 years.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's really nice to know. Good background. So, and then, of course, so that's what kindled your interest in photography, and you did a lot of it. 5 years is a long time to persist and to do that. So, but was that? So, what was the key step which moved from there to to professionalism? Was it?
So what happened is, there two things kind of happened. One of the things that happened was there was one of my customers, was a man who had very wealthy man. He had a lot of hotels, and a very, very nice person. And he was opening a new hotel, and he said, "Oh, I looked at your work about Paris. Do you think you could take a photo of one of my new hotel room?" And he said, he says, "I'm going to hire 5 different photographers to shoot one room, and the one who makes the best job will get will do the whole hotel. It's, like it's a $5,000 gig." And so I shot the room and I did an HDR of it. It was like really the early time of HDR, but nobody had seen HDR at that time. So he was so impressed with the look, because I was the only one doing HDR, that I got paid $5,000 to shoot the whole hotel. And I was like, wow, maybe I can make money with it. And so but I was making a lot of money as a vice president of the company. So even, I mean, not a lot of money, but I was making about $10,000 a month. I had a big family. So, but at that time, I was so happy with my photos. I felt so blessed when I was doing photography that I was like, I got to find a way to do that full time. And also,
Right.
at that time, I had some friends that wanted to make some movies. So it was like, oh, and I wanted to do that with them. So I had this idea. So basically, it's a crazy story, but it's a long story. But basically, I was pushing. My brother wanted to sell a company, and if he did, I would get a big amount of money, and so I was waiting for that. So my plan was, okay, he was going to sell a company, and then I was going to get that money because I needed the money because I had 4 teenagers, big house, big mortgage. I needed $10,000 per month. And I knew as a professional photographer, it would be hard to make so much money.
Yeah.
So, but then that's 2007, but then the company does not get sell. Like there's a buyer, but it doesn't work. And the next year there's another buyer, it doesn't work. And this went on like this for 3 years. And finally in 2010, he said, look, I'm not going to sell the company. I'm just going to expand it. In fact, if you stay with me, I will give you big shares in the company. And it was a lot of money. It was worth $3 million.
Oh.
And yes, the company was big by then. And then, I mean, it was not worth $3 million then, but I know it was going to become that very fast. I knew it.
Go to that level.
But the thing is, I said, look, no, I don't want to do that because, it's not just about money. It's about what you want to do with your life. I mean, by then I'm 40 years old. And so I refused, it is a true story. I refused the $3 million. And I started doing interior design photography to make a living. And also, so one thing that helped me is because I had such a big collection of Paris and I was in the hotel business, and had very good friends in hotel business. I sold, because when my brother told me, okay, I'm never going to sell a company, I turned on the $3 million deal and I went to see some of my biggest customers and I sold them $200,000 worth of photography. Because they needed photography to renovate their hotel. So I did big prints and sold that to the hotel. So I had enough money to work on producing the movies, and I was plus doing some interior design for money.
Right, right.
But then the movies didn't go well. I lost all the money. The $200,000, I lost it in 2 years trying
Oh.
to make the movie. Yeah. And then and interior design photography was good, but it was not enough to cover my daily expenses.
Mhm.
And that's when I got the idea of doing a YouTube channel
Okay.
to teach photography, because a lot of people were asking me, how do you do this? I love your Paris photo, and so I lost all the money. Um, I was making about $5,000 a month doing interior design photography, but I needed $10,000. It was not
Right,
enough.
right. Wait,
So I said I need to find an extra income. So it's a long story, but I was supposed to play as an actor in a movie with the partners I was going with, and they turned me down. And I was
oh,
very upset with that. And I was like, okay, what can I do as an actor? Because I really wanted to act. I said, I'm going to do a YouTube channel. My first idea on YouTube channel was to make like a comedy channel. But then
okay.
I was like comedy. I was not sure I was capable of doing it. But I said, you know what? I can teach photography and I can do it in a fun way.
Fantastic.
So after being turned on this movie part, I did the YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel blew up completely. And then I got into teaching, and teaching gave me that extra income on top of the interior design to be able to make a living as a photography. That's basically, and then I because of the YouTube channel, like a few months after, I got an incredible deal to work with the biggest gallery in the world, Yellow Corner, and
Wow.
with 10 Hours, the second biggest publisher on the planet. Now my work is in 100 galleries around the world through this
Wow.
Yellow Corner network,
Mhm.
and I've done 7 books with 10 Hours Publishing, which is a German company that partner with them,
Mhm.
and that gave me also the teaching, and that gave me an extra. So I stopped doing the interior design just to do the fine art for the galleries and for the books. I've made 7 books now, and
Okay.
so that's basically how I did the switch.
Excellent.
The teaching plus the books plus the gallery makes that I make a lot more money now, even than when I was the vice president salesman. Because all of this now, I have the books, I have the galleries, I have the teaching, and other things that I'm doing. I'm a speaker at events, and so it 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 was rough because I almost lost my house in the process, to be honest, because
Oh,
when I lost the money with trying to make the movie, it was hard. But I believe when you do something you really like in life, good things happens, and it was honestly the book deal and the gallery deal changed my life financially overnight,
mm.
and that was a blessing.
Fantastic. That's really a fantastic story, Serge. I'm sure
Yeah.
a lot of our audience will sort of connect with it. Many of us are stuck in those places. Some of us have made it through the dark space and to the happy space you are at right now, like where things have gone well. But there are many of us who are actually in those difficult spaces with those doubts and will it ever improve? Will the break come through? And I think hearing an excellent story like yours will give positive energy to so many people who are struggling and who are trying right now. So more power to you, and thank you for sharing that inspirational
No problem. No,
story.
it was not always easy. It was very scary at times, but I believe that, you see, uh, 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 food makes your body go, but dreams and ambition is what makes you as a being, as a spiritual being, go. So if you don't follow your dreams and your ambition, that's where you get your energy from. I when I get up in the morning and the idea of I'm going to make a photo makes me happy. It gives me a positive energy. And
Fantastic.
so if you do something that you don't like in life and you're stuck at a job that you don't like, you're not getting that energy. You're getting a paycheck, but you're not getting the energy.
Yeah.
So finding a way by any means possible to do something that you really like is vital, because that's going to give you the energy to pursue something. For me, happiness is not money. Otherwise, I would not have turned on $3 million to become
Yeah.
what I am today.
Some people will
Uh,
call you crazy for turning that money down.
yeah, I know, but I, I I knew I could do something as an artist, and I knew it was going to be less money than the business side. I knew that, but I would be more happy. I mean, as long as I have a good house and my kids are fine and I can have a car, I don't need extra money.
Yeah.
In fact, when I have extra money, I usually give it to charity, and it's a true story.
Oh, nice.
Uh, yeah, so I believe happiness comes from doing what you love, or doing what you love, or pursuing a bit that you love. If you want to marry this woman, or if you want to do this or whatever, if you have something to go for, a mountain to go toward, and you go and do that, that is what brings you happiness. It's not even arriving there. Like whenever I sort of have done a photography challenge, I need to have a new challenge. If not, I get bored and I get unhappy. It's the journey that makes you happy. It's not the arrival.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Serge.
No
Okay,
problem.
so pressing on with some of the more detailed questions. So that's the background and how you move from loving art to struggling, getting stuck in a job which may not be as exciting as you expected, and then moving on to taking risks, possibly, coming to those dark spots where thinking whether you can provide for your family or not, and then breaking through that by getting those special deals. That's a fantastic story. Thank you for sharing that, Serge. Okay, so what is one thing you wish you knew when you started taking photos, which you found out years later and you said, you know what, I wish I knew this earlier?
Um, that's a good question. I remember when I read the question, I was like, that's a good question. From a pure artistic viewpoint, I would say, well, two things. I wasted a lot of time. Like I right from the start, I knew that to be a successful photographer, you need to, especially in cityscape and landscape, you need to do to take good moment of light, sunset, sunrise, golden hour, blue hour, night photo, not during daylight. This is something I knew from the start. What I
Right.
didn't know, what I didn't know is the importance of composition, and there's one composition trick which for me is the most important of all, which I call foreground, background, middle ground. So
Hmm.
when you take, especially in cities, you know, I always give the example. I think it's a good example. If you get, if you're in Paris on the Alexander III Bridge, which is one of the nicest bridge, which has a great view on the Eiffel Tower,
Okay.
and you're lucky to have a sunset, you will see 10,000 people taking their iPhone or their DSLR and taking photos of the Eiffel Tower,
Right.
and the sun. So they have a background, the sunset. They have a subject, the Eiffel Tower.
Right.
But what is it that what is a foreground? Most of them have the water as a foreground, or they
Hmm.
have they have like the fence of the bridge,
Hmm.
and there's some very nice statue there. I I spend more time trying to find a foreground element that I'm going to put in my. So I have like a like a rock, a bench, a tree, a lady, or a rock, and then you have not the subject, the Eiffel Tower, Notre Dame, and then you have the background. So foreground, middle ground, background. That there's it gives a viewpoint to where you shot the photo from. It makes a story. It gives depth to a photo. It's it's what I see professionals do, like really high end professionals. So, for example, if I walk around and I'm doing a cityscape and I see a beautiful rock, or I see a bench, or one little tree, a lot of people do landscape, they put the grass as a foreground, and it's not nice. Grass has a lot of small things. It's not nice, a nice rock, or a nice river, or one tree, not three trees. So, I wasted a lot of photos not having the good composition. I had the good light, I had the good subject, but not the good composition. So probably that trick is what made my photography being from good to getting to galleries, the
Fantastic.
foreground.
Fantastic. That's really a great insight, Serge. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
So there you have it, guys. So we've heard of the object. That's how amateurs start, right? They just focus on what are they photographing, and then they realize the background is important. But not many people really focus on the foreground, as you
A
very very
foreground is
clearly.
everything.
Exactly. Mhm.
Because you're trying to tell a story. So the other aspect of foreground is when you frame your shot, you got to tell yourself, okay, what is the story I'm trying to tell? Okay, I'm trying to tell the Eiffel Tower with a beautiful sunset. Okay, now having 5,000 tourists in a shot. Is that helping to tell that story? Within not helping. Also, maybe if I move to the right, now
Hmm.
I don't see the tourist. I have this beautiful statue or have this water. Water could be a cool foreground too. Don't get me wrong. Like this one is water, the foreground,
Right. Right.
So, and it works, it's telling a story, which is, I wanted to tell this crazy sunset with Notre Dame. So I'm always thinking, okay, what can I take out? What can I take out that's not helping the story? What can I put in? What can I put in that's going to help tell the story? And the
Right.
foreground, middle ground, background is just a good guide to help you do that.
Okay.
But a strong photo is a strong story. You can identify right away, oh, okay, that's what he's saying. If there is something distracting, which I see a lot of time in photos, then
Hmm.
it gets you off the story. So
Okay.
that's really this whole concept is, I wish I would have told that myself. I would have taken better photos. And also photography is simple. Like it's like just try applying what I tell you, and you will see your composition is going to go like this. It's not hard. It really is not hard. You can, I thought it was like, I thought you had a special talent, or
Hmm.
it's not really true. I mean, it takes a lot of practice, but once you know your camera, once you know when to shoot and how to compose, it can be learned in a few weeks. It took me years to learn it because I didn't have a good mentorship. That's why I try to do today, is to mentor people so they don't waste all the time that I wasted.
Hmm. Right. Right. Excellent. That's a great point. That's really a great point. That's what they say. You have the right mentor, you have the right teacher, could save you years of self-learning. Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, moving on to the next question, Serge. So obviously you've photographed some iconic structures. You photographed in some iconic locations: the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, nightscapes, Paris, New York, Los Angeles. If you had a favorite place, which is your favorite place? Maybe because of a personal choice or some memory associated with a favorite place which you shot,
Well,
or
honestly, it's Paris. Paris is for me. I think Paris is the most beautiful city in the world from a photography viewpoint for one reason, that it's got so many different styles. I did 2 books on New York, 2 books on Paris. I did one on Venice. Venice is incredibly nice. Venice is very surprising because there's no cars, but Venice is one big Venetian style.
Hmm.
You mean it has incredible, probably even nicer than Paris, but it has one main style.
Okay.
When you go to Paris, you go to Montmartre, you go to the Sketsen. It has so many different styles. You can do so many different kind of photography, which I think no city in the world has that. I love New York. I love taking photos in New York. New York. I love places where you have photo opportunities. New York, you have a lot of photo opportunities. I love Venice. I think like my 3 favorite cities is Paris, New York, and Venice for photos.
Okay.
Florence is nice too in Italy, but it's very small street. It's very narrow. It's not so easy. It's not like, I mean, New York, Paris, and Venice is like photo opportunity everywhere you go. It's like,
Ah.
it's, it's really very rich of photo. It's the best I've seen so far. Los Angeles is really hard.
Okay.
When I did my book on Los Angeles, I lucky that I was living there. I did my New York book in 1 month. I did my Los Angeles book in 5 years, because
There you have it. Yeah.
you have to go, and there are some beautiful places in Los Angeles, but you have to do some research. In New York, you just walk into Manhattan, and I mean, it's incredible. There's some dirty place too, but it's a lot of beautiful architecture in New York, and so yeah, New York, Paris, Venice. My heart goes there. Paris, I feel so amazing in Paris. There is especially on the left bank, which is the nicest area of Paris for me. There is a magic in Paris that I
I
find
know what
nowhere
you're
else on the planet.
saying.
And maybe it's because of my childhood. Despite everything that has happened in Paris, it's still for me the best place to be.
Fantastic. A lot of us can associate with that, where you grow up, where your initial impressions are,
Yeah, exactly. I
what
have
builds
great
you.
memories in Paris.
Yes, yes, yes. Fantastic. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing an insight into your history, Serge. That's really nice. Okay, so as we've heard, and we've seen with some of your work and a lot of your tutorials as well, you love retouching your pictures.
Yes.
um, yeah, creating more value, creating masterpieces out of the photographic raw material that you create. Two questions related to that. The first one is there a special post-processing workflow you follow, or is it, do you have a bunch of workflows you apply on different scenarios? Um,
Yeah,
what is that? Hmm.
this has changed a lot over the years. One thing, so I've been doing it now for 15 years.
Okay.
And so at first I would take any photo and, apply some magic in Lightroom and Photoshop and make it, incredibly dramatic.
Hmm.
As I grew older, I realized I have time. So now what my pleasure is to go back to get the perfect in-camera shot and make it better in retouching. But
Right.
before, I used to enjoy taking a bad photo and through post-processing it into a great photo. I don't enjoy that anymore. I've done it many times. What I enjoy doing now is going back to a location, getting the best possible in-camera shot and make it even better. But like I try to do a style that I call epic natural. What I
Mm,
mean by that is that you capture a moment of light that's crazy
mm,
and you retouch it in a way that it's the most possible how you experienced it. That's the
right.
challenge I do today. I mean, and look, I still do sky replacement, but my real pleasure today is going back over and over and getting the perfect shot, of a place, and um, and so the workflow is get the best possible photo in a raw file,
Right.
get the best out of it in Lightroom. I only use Photoshop for two things now, either erase elements or change the sky. And
Ah,
change the sky, I try to avoid as much as possible. Sometimes I don't have the choice. Like, for example, I had 3 weeks to make a book on Barcelona, and I use Luminar to change like 3, 4 skies in the book. Out of 100 photos, there's 4 photos where I change the sky, and
mm,
I'm very open about it. It's not like I'm not hiding it. This it's a fine art book, so I do whatever I want. I could
yep.
have changed the sky on every photo if I wanted to,
Mhm.
but you know, so I try to find epicness for real, get it in camera and make it better. That's not what I was doing when I was started. You will find some tutorials back in 2010 where I take a really bad photo and I make it extraordinary, which is fun. I'm not. It's fun. It's just I've done it so many times. I've achieved that look many times. Now my challenge is like right now I'm actually doing a lot of film photography. I'm learning film photography. I'm
Mm.
learning. I'm creating a lab. I'm developing. I'm doing 4x5, 120 millimeter, just for the fun. Just for the learning curve. I don't know if I'm going to teach that, but
Mm.
for my own pleasure, I do a lot of large format photography because I love the look in film. There's something about film that I like. So that's just for my own pleasure.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's really useful insight again, Serge. And there's always this. I find this discussion either in forums or review or groups. Some people call retouching as a sort of as cheating. They consider retouching cheating or
Yeah.
partial cheating. And some people, go through the emotion. They say, for example, even using a digital camera with zoom could be considered cheating if you really want to, treat software as,
Yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know.
If you use it, I always give this example. If you use an 85 millimeter 1.4, so you get this very blurry background, with the bokeh, with the round and everything. Unless you have a lot of eye issue, nobody sees that.
Right.
It's so you're using a lens to create an illusion.
Correct.
So what's the difference? If you put an ND filter and you get stretchy cloud like this one,
Correct.
that's
Correct.
from the ND filter. Plus
Right.
the one I had this big magenta cast line, but I left it.
Hmm.
It's not reality. I created an effect with a filter. How is that different from changing the sky in Photoshop?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it's a software or it's a hardware, you're changing reality.
Correct.
Uh, so, but what I try to do today is a bit different. That's why I do less long exposure. I try to find, I mean, right now I'm in Florida and I live very close to the beach. You should see some of this sunset. They are so red. They're
Mhm.
so epic that, and the human eyes has a lot of dynamic range, like sees all the details in the sky, see all the details, on the beach.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I said, if I could just share that with the world. So
Hmm.
it takes you, sometimes you have to make an HDR, but I try to do it in a way so that it's the closest possible to the truth, but I take truths which are incredibly, crazy moments of lights. I remember when we got our first color TV back in 1980. I was 10 years old. We had black and white TV, went to color, and everybody thought the colors looked fake. It was fake. It was, it's like my wife, for example, she hates when we go to a base, store that sells TV, and you see like this big TV which is like 60 hertz and it's very crisp, and it's like, oh, I don't like it. It looks fake. It looks like a video game. It's just because we're not used to see. So when you capture a sunset and you do like an HDR technique, or or you take one photo for the sun, one photo for the background, you mix that and you make it really well. Sometimes people will think it's fake, but it's reality. If it was truly like that, it's reality. It's just that only your eyes can see that, and only very high-end camera and very high-end techniques can capture that truth. But it was really like that. It was really that crazy. Right. So in my retouching, I try to make sure the colors are right. They are the red that I saw, the orange that I thought, but I take crazy moment of light. So they're crazy photos.
Fantastic. Yes, that's a lovely emotion there. Yes, fantastic. Okay, that brings me to another question, which I think you've touched upon briefly, but maybe you could you jog your memory, Serge, and share with us a funny or a memorable story from any of your photo shoots, anything that is stuck with you, maybe a lesson you learned, or a new friend you made, or something, whatever.
Yeah, I remember, it's a story I tell often, but it's a true story. One night I was with my wife's sister, and I said, oh, come, I want to take a photo of Notre Dame. This is Notre Dame. Right. And then, but the way I was sitting was Notre Dame was on the east side. Okay. And it was sunset time, and it was very bad. It was like no light. I was really trying to take photos of Notre Dame. And my sister, she goes like this, look. And she showed me the west side, and it was an incredible sunset on the river, but it was no real subject. It was just the river with the sun, but it was so crazy, because it was toward the west. So I turned around and I took an HDR of that photo. And 2 months after, I sent that photo to a magazine. It ended up being on the cover of the magazine. They made a 6-page article on me. In fact, it was such a big article that this is how I got my original visa for the US as an artist, was with that article. And the lesson learned was shoot where the light is nice, find your subject after, but the priority is the quality of the light. So Notre Dame, there was no Notre Dame, there was other subject, but the light, like if I show you the photo of Notre Dame and I show a photo of the other one, everybody likes the other one. They don't care about, you know what I mean? So the lesson learned was, was like, okay, find the light first, then you'll find it. There's so many beautiful subjects on planet Earth, but the light is the most important aspect.
Right. Fantastic. That's a nice story. And I think that's also a very useful story. Don't go always by the book. What you're saying is go by what your eyes see. Don't necessarily say, if I don't have a great object, I'm going to have a poor photograph. No, you could make a great photograph. The great composition makes the objects come out, and you have to stop the objects from where they aren't there. Excellent. That's a lovely story, Serge. Thank you. So I know, you touched upon your YouTube channel briefly in your introduction and in your background, and yes, it's great. It's awesome. You have over 500,000, approaching 1 million subscribers. Fantastic. What can you share with us about the challenges of running such an active and massive YouTube channel? I mean, I think you post twice a week, if I'm not mistaken.
I have posted less recently because I was traveling so much and moving to Florida. But yeah, I'm trying to do, I have a French channel and a YouTube channel. I try to do like one video. I haven't done one in 2 weeks, which is very rare, but usually it's 1 to 2 times a week. The challenge is to find ideas, so I do a lot of survey and ask people, what they want to learn, or so I try to, to make subject. Also, I do, things that that I've encountered that I find nice, like a nice photo, or I love sharing. I love teaching. I love being in front of the camera. it's brought me a lot of success. This is the YouTube channel is how I got so many deals. I ended up being an actor in a movie because of my YouTube channel. I got the gallery deals. I got the book deals. I've been a speaker at Photoshop World for 5 years because of my YouTube channel. I speak for Adobe in New York for many, many years because of the YouTube channel. So brought me so much, so I keep on doing it because it's been very successful for me.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I guess that's another lesson we can take from your journey, Serge, is to have one big thing that you really focus on, and all the good things sort of mushroom out of that big thing.
Yeah, it's true. I focused a lot on the teaching because a lot of people. I love teaching photography, especially to beginners to intermediate. I can help. Very but my main thing is you just bought a camera and you want to take great photos.
Yeah.
Like I can help you save a lot of time and money because I know exactly what you need to know. I think sometimes the subject gets over complex, and so I love seeing the face of somebody getting his first good sunset, with the foreground still having details and and he's like so happy he's gonna go print it and put it in his office. It's such a joy to share that.
Yeah, excellent. Yes, and I've gone through some of your popular videos on your channel, and I can see the intense passion and the excitement in your face in when you teach. It's almost as if you're here with us when you teach that. And I'm sure that's what people love when that's what they.
Honestly, I didn't realize how unhappy I was until I became a photographer. I love sales and I love working with my company's brother, but the emotion that I got of being able to share the beauty of this world as a photographer was so much higher than I realized, that so I'm very enthusiastic about it because I think it's the nicest job in the world. There was a survey, I was so surprised by that. There was a survey that one of the biggest national magazine in France did. That was 10 years ago. And the survey was, what is your favorite job? And there was 40 answers, based on 1,000 people were surveyed. The number one was photographer. And like being an actor was like number 4, being a director, which is my other thing, was like number 7.
Right.
Being a singer was like number 3, but being a photographer was number 1 on that survey to these people. I was like, wow, I think it's a great job because you're creating beauty and you're sharing beauty. There's so much bad things going on in this world, and doing, especially when you do fun art and you just try to take the best possible places, and it makes people dream. It makes people want to travel. It makes people want to put attention on what's positive in this world. I think it's a great job.
Yeah, fantastic. And that's even more amazing, considering that photography is not traditionally known to make a lot of money. People want to do it, why do people want to get into movies or other glamours? Because there's a perception that there's a lot of money there. They want to set up businesses because they think businessmen.
Yeah, it's true. There's but it's true. There's a lot less money in photography, but
yes.
It's very satisfying too.
Exactly. That's why it's amazing. That's why it tells a lot about how people really want to do what they feel good about, or how they feel create value, and how photography can help them create that magic in the world. That's very nice to hear. So you, in the introduction, you told us about the 6 books, the coffee table books that one of the major publishers in Germany published and is circulating around the world. That's an awesome achievement to have under your belt. Not 1, 2, but 6, and I'm assuming maybe some more in the future. Is that something?
It's actually 7, but who is counting? It's 7, and I'm doing number 8.
Oh, fantastic! That's really fantastic. So the question, which I'm guessing our audience would like to hear is, Serge, is the book in itself an objective? Should people aim to have a coffee table book, or should they aim at
I think nothing makes me more happy than a coffee table book. I mean, it's like, even I used to print my own before I had a publisher. Having like a book where you can show to friends and family, some kind of nice place, I think is one of the best way to express yourself. That and prints. Like I have a print behind me here.
Right.
You don't see it very much, but big prints, books is a great way because it's a good way to exchange your art with people.
Yes.
To make money. I do great money with selling big photos and the books. It's a really good income. So
So you recommend that? So for those to get out there,
oh
and
yeah, I totally recommend it. Absolutely. Yeah. I
you
mean,
know,
I know people that sell their work on Fine Art America, that sell their work, they work on their website. On their website. The key, if you want to get into fine art, the key is to really have. I'll tell you one story that really also struck me a lot, changed my life a lot. One time, I sold a photo to Nike, the brand Nike,
okay,
for it was a small JPEG they use on the homepage, $2,500 for like a very small JPEG.
okay,
Not a big hard, just a small JPEG for 3 weeks, $2,500. And I spoke to the buyer at Nike and says, "Why did you pick me?" And he says, "I'll tell you a secret. Uh, when I look for photography, I'm trying to get away from the Shutterstock or Adobe stock because I want to get an original. Like big brands don't like to buy from Shutterstocks. They
right,
don't. Smaller brand, but when you have money, you want original photos.
correct.
And so I look for photography on Google Image, I go to the website of the guy,
Hmm.
and you know how I can see somebody is a really professional and somebody who is not a professional? Says no. He says the professional will have very little photo on his website, and they will all look good. They will be like
Mhm.
just the top of the top. The amateur is going to have 2-3 incredible photos, 5-6 average photos, 2-3 bad photos, and he's going to have a lot of photos. Lots of photos. The pro have very little photos. The amateur have a lot of photos, and the
Mm.
pro only have. And he says that's how I go by. If I see somebody having a lot of photo, I just close the website.
Mm.
I you know, but if I see somebody having only 5 photos and they're spectacular, that's where I'm buying. I was like,
Fantastic.
oh, that's a good tip.
That's a good tip. Excellent tip. There's, when you described about the coffee table book, something came to my mind, Serge. How human beings, they love visual stuff. Yes,
Yeah.
we like to read, but they love visual. And you know how many times I've uh, gone through coffee table books myself, and I've seen people do it. And the first thing they do when they open a book, um, they rub their hand over the picture,
Hmm. Yeah.
not
Yeah,
just
it's true.
looking at it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
They like to touch their hand and rub it across the picture as if they can absorb the picture. They like to feel the gloss. They like to feel the smoothness. That's something which I've always been fascinated about, because it's not just about looking at
Yeah,
it
it's
from
true because
afar.
it's physical. You can touch it. It has some physical,
Yes, yes,
entity.
yes, yes, yes. Okay, so what lies ahead, Serge? But for many people's standards, Serge is sort of right there where we want to be eventually. But you're young. You can do a lot of things going forward. What lies ahead?
Uh, I really want to. I want to get so in photography. I want to get good at large format photography, 4x5. I have this idea where I'm gonna do like I want to go more into landscape, so very epic landscape, and I want to go with the Sony A7R4 or the Fuji medium format, so have a digital and having a 4x5, two cameras, and
Okay.
shooting the same photo of the most epic possible scene, and create like a really good landscape. I want to do all the national parks in the US.
Mm,
And that's, because I've done a lot of cities. And in the US, I think that the most interesting part is the national parks. USA has some nice cities like New York, Boston, but Chicago is okay. But it's not what the USA is known for. I mean, from a photographer perspective, I think the wild, Death Valley and Yosemite and the Bryce Canyon and Page, Arizona and the Horseshoe, Smoky Mountains and Yellowstone and so many the Glacier National Park. So I want to get into more landscapes with film and with medium format camera or very like high-end Sony camera to make big prints of the wild.
right.
And I want to make movies. I still have this idea of making movies. I wrote a movie, which is a science fiction movie called Time Quest. I'm trying to, because people seems to be less, with the COVID and Netflix and Amazon. I'm rewriting it as a TV show. So I'm hoping to be able to direct this TV show someday.
Okay.
And I'm actually working with a producer on that right now. So that's one project. and I want to get into making TV shows or feature film. That's really what I hope to do for the next 10 years, on top of my photography.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's really inspiring, Serge, to basically go deep into your craft and to do the stuff which you're really excited about, and to enhance your capability and also share. I think some of the mediums that you spoke about, film and movies, they have a wider reach than photography, and
Yeah,
I think that'll get you out to more people out there, and share your joy of creation of this beautiful, basically a beautiful photograph or a movie which creates an emotion. It basically creates a little bit of happiness in a human being. So
exactly. And and I want to do very inspiring movies. I want to do feel good movies. I'm not into the horror genre, or I want to make movies which are beautiful, in
right.
terms of photography, and that have stories which makes people, I like when people come out of the movie theater and they're happier, not that they got scared or they
Or
got like
crying
really sad.
yeah.
I like to create more. I'm a positive person, and so I like to create that positive emotion with people, and I hope to do the same in my movies.
Fantastic, excellent. That's exciting. I'm sure we look forward to some of your launches in the future. Definitely. Okay,
Thank you.
we're coming towards the end, but I have a couple of questions, slightly on a slightly different track, Serge. We've heard about Serge, the creative person, the artist, the photographer, the actor. What about Serge, the person? Can you tell us something about your family, about yourself? You did mention early on you have a large family.
Yeah. Well,
So what does your day look like? What are your likes, dislikes? What's your day? Just to make you a real person for our audience.
yeah, I have four kids where they're not big because the smallest one is 22, and
Whoa.
so I had a first wife where I got a daughter, and I remarried 20 years ago with Karen, which is my current wife, and she had
Okay.
three young boys,
Okay.
2, 3, and 5 when I married her 20 years ago. So now they're all big.
Okay.
Um, they One of them, two of them lives in South Africa. They love South Africa. One of them even bought like a little hotel there. And so two brothers are in South Africa. My daughter right now, she's getting married. I'm not married, but she's dating somebody who lives in Colombia. So
Okay.
she's in Colombia,
Nice.
and then we have another. We have the youngest is with us, but he's married here in the USA. So
Okay.
they are basically they're all married now except my daughter, which I think is going to happen next year,
Okay.
and so hoping to get some grandchildren next year. For,
Fantastic. That's a new phase in life.
yeah, that's going to be the next big move. I love kids. I raised 4 kids, and I can't wait to have grandchildren. This is something that I really am looking forward to.
Fantastic.
And I live in Florida, in Clearwater, which is a beautiful beach there. It's I love it here. To go outside, and that's why I'm a bit suntanned with the glasses. I
Yeah.
do a lot of. I try to get in shape because I'm gonna play in the TV show, so I have to lose weight and get in shape, and
Nice. Nice.
which I
Yeah.
hate to do, but you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe if you have a lot
It's
of
Florida
grandchildren.
is a good place to do that.
Yes. If you have a lot of grandchildren, you might experiment newborn photography for.
Sorry.
Yeah, if when you get a lot of grandchildren, you can explore newborn photography. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and I also want to get into more portrait. I
right.
want to do more portrait too. This is something I really want to do in the next years.
Mm.
I've done a lot of cityscape for 15 years, so now it's going to be more landscape and portrait for me. Just to
Yes,
keep the
people.
interest up.
Fantastic. You,
But even if I manage to be successful in the movie business, which I'm really hoping, I might fail completely or I might be successful, but it's fun trying. I will always take photos. I think it's such a joy to take photos. I cannot go, at least 3 days per week. I go out and take photos. I always manage to do that.
fantastic. And that reminds me about a common thread across all experts and people who do well. Do more of what you want to do well.
Yeah.
Just do more of it. Learn from what you do. So if you take a lot of photos, so I remember this old story, Michelangelo story, when somebody praised him. He says, "Wow, your hands, your structure." He says, "No, I'm just as good as anyone who spent so much time doing this."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
Right?
you can go to his practice, 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 practice. But I'll tell you something. Practice without having tutorials, like whether it's me or anybody else, like having a technique is like, I give you an example. I was trying to draw. I'm learning drawing right now, and I really have trouble with drawing the face. And then I discovered a technique that really helped me get the face right.
Okay.
And so it's practice, but you have to have some kind of technique, whether it's from a book, from a mentor, from because it will just, you could also practice for, I know people, for example, that practice scales on piano. Not as a waste of time, but there's, because I'm helping somebody who's an incredible piano teacher. There are ways to do things faster. So it's good also to, whatever you want to learn, find a good mentor, so you have a technique and you practice. This goes much faster.
Fantastic. I think that's awesome advice that we can leave our audience with. Find a great mentor. We live in a fascinating age where the internet allows us to speak to people around the world. We can use YouTube, we can use digital medium. So find a mentor, a guide, and then practice. And I think Serge has been so gracious to share his knowledge with us via his YouTube channel, via this interview. I think it's a great opportunity for all of us to learn some awesome lessons from his experience, from his life. Thank you wholeheartedly, Serge, for taking the time out, for sharing this with us. I'm sure you will kindle the spark in some for the young photographer somewhere. I'm sure you'll be the inspiration for somebody struggling somewhere, saying, yes, press on, life will become better. And I'm sure you'll also help some of the sort of uh, professionals or pre-professionals in improving their craft a little more faster, learning new techniques through your channels. I'm really grateful for this, and I'm sure our audience will love this as well. Do you have any parting advice or any parting comments you'd like to share with our audience, Serge?
Oh, I mean, just don't give up, persist and do what you love.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's really lovely. Thank you so much for that.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Serge. So